Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this. This is Daily LK for the 9th of August, 2016. If you're listening live, please put any questions you have regarding this show, and topics are going to include Bound for Glory, Ryback's release, the G1 update, Summerslam match card, Raw review, and the Ring of Honor UK tour. So if you have any opinions and you'd like them to be aired on this show, please put in the live comments below. Also leave a like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much for joining me today. Like I just talked about, we'll start off with the Raw review because that's all fresh in your memory. I'd like to thank Mr. David Koco for doing the Raw review for you guys last night. So if you haven't already, please check that out. Raw kicked off with Enzo and Cass. They came out, cut the usual promo. They get cut off by Chris Jericho. Jericho does his normal stick and then announces that he has backup. Kevin Owens comes out. They come to the ring. They cut in-ring promos saying blah, blah, blah. Pointless, boring, kind of dull, waste of time, really, if you ask me. And then Chris Jericho basically announces he will face you. You being who? And it ended up being Enzo Amore. So it'll be Chris Jericho versus Enzo Amore. That was the opening match. The match was okay. Owens grabbed Amore's leg, allowing Jericho to hit the code breaker. Big Cass enters the ring, hits Jericho with a big boot, causing a disqualification, which means we get announced that it will be Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens versus Enzo and Cass at SummerSlam. Okay match there. Depends how long SummerSlam is, but in the end of the day, the way I see this is they want to get Enzo and Cass on the card. They want to get Jericho on the card. They want to get Kevin Owens on the card. Fuck it. Why don't we just make that a tag team? Both for heels, two heels, two faces. Let's just pop them in a tag team match. The match itself, and I don't know if anyone else found this about the show as a whole felt very, very, very long, draggy, and with no commercials. This was advert free. 2 hours and 15 minutes I had to watch, not 3 hours and 15. And I swear to God, it felt like I was watching it 3+ hours. It was just Jericho won, great. If Enzo won, great. It doesn't really make a difference. Jericho, I can't actually remember the last time Jericho won a wrestling match, and that's the issue. And awful lot happened to Shelton Benjamin, expecting to happen to Rhino. What I'm expecting is they bring guys back like the Dudleys. You know, this time last year, obviously they returned the day after SummerSlam last year. The Dudleys came back, then they were in a high-profile feud with the New Day. Then they kept going with that feud, and then all of a sudden they're nothing. Now, last week they're on Superstars, Swagger and Sin Cara. And this week they're in a match with Sin Cara again and Neville, losing. And it's like, you spend all this money and get them back, and then you build and build and build, and then boom. Once they lose that title match, last feud that happened in January, February, March, April, May. Once that finished, Jericho meant nothing and he's worthless. He is just bouncing from feud to feud to feud to feud to feud, and it means fucking nothing. I personally wouldn't mind a Jericho Sami Zayn feud. You know, get Jericho some heat, Zayn with that big underdog babyface, even have Jericho have the pay-per-view with. Just make your roster mean something instead of having your top guys in the Reigns. Obviously, look strong in this episode as always. You know, you have your Reigns, your Rollins, your Baylors, even Rusev to an extent is being fairly protected. But I just hate when they do this. Like, they bring people back for no reason. Well, that's a lie. They bring them back for a reason, and once the reason's expired, once the reason's done, it's kind of just like, okay, there you are. Here's your spot in the card. You mean nothing. You're going to appear. You're getting paid. Like, who goes to wrestling shows and says, oh, I want to see Chris Jericho? Half the time, if he wasn't on the show, would you even notice? The Dudley Boys last week weren't on Raw because they were on Superstars. Did you even notice the Dudleys weren't on the show? If I asked you what brand the Ascension are on, what would you respond with? And it took you a little bit. It didn't click like that. It took you a little bit to realize they're on SmackDown. And the only reason I know that was because I watched Main Event on Sunday. That's the only reason I know that. And it should be the other way around. Like, it really should. You know, the Ascension should be higher up. Like, they treat it like there is a bottom a middle, and a top. Now that, in essence, is how it actually is. But you shouldn't treat bottom people like they're bottom. Like I just don't get how you can have someone like a Jericho, someone like the Dudley Boys. If any other promotion in the world had these guys, they'd be top guys. No, but hey ho, what's the point of getting into one? Braun Strowman knocked off Jarrell Nelson. Darren Young defeated Titus O'Neil, and I swear to God, I felt like that. I couldn't. Like, I'm literally there, like I couldn't. This to me, someone put this in the comment section. Excuse me, for Koco's Raw review. This to me is, oh shit, we're against the Olympics, so I don't give a fuck episode of Raw. This was clearly, we're getting fucked by the Olympics, so I don't give a shit. Like, it frustrated me so fucking much. They're having a match because of a roll-up. And then Titus O'Neil got, I swear, if this is the pre-show match for SummerSlam, the second biggest event of the year, maybe the third, depending on how higher up you think the Rumble is, I just can't do this. It's so frustrating. It's so aggravating. It's so annoying. It really fucking is. Seth Rollins came out. Top of hour 1. Cut in-ring promo running down Finn Balor. That wasn't too shabby. It was a good promo. It made me actually look forward to the Rollins Finn Balor match for the Universal Championship next Sunday at SummerSlam. So that was a good job. If I would say this show, watch highlights on WWE's YouTube channel, that's what I would do personally after watching the show in its entirety. That's one of the things I would watch. Then you had Cesaro defeating Sheamus, and obviously a rematch from last week. Sheamus, the match ended with Sheamus cheap shot at Cesaro, but as he went for it, he kind of caught the referee in the process. The ref wasn't able to count Sheamus's roll-up pin. When Sheamus then complained, Cesaro got a roll-up win of his own, and this time that got the win. Cesaro with 2 victories over Sheamus now. I thought it was a decent match. Not as, I don't think it was as good as last week's, but to me, this is, oh shit, the G1's on. They're really hitting each other hard. Let's get our 2 heavy hitters out there to have a kind of a match. But I watched the Okada versus Ishii. I think it was 2 days ago. It wasn't live. I think it was 2 days ago. That match, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you have New Japan World, go back and watch it. It was the night where, on the title of the picture, it was Marufuji from Noah versus Tanahashi, Okada, Ishii. Watch those 2 matches from that night. Mother of Jesus. That was spectacular wrestling. That was wrestling at its best. You can't top that. It is literally professional wrestling at its purest best. Rainmaker counter, Rainmaker counter, Rainmaker counter, headbutt from out of nowhere. I mean, that stupid spike tombstone. I call that the Owen Hart tombstone because that's what Owen Hart did to Steve Austin and broke his neck. It was ridiculous. But yes, Cesaro did defeat him. Then we have Neville and Cesaro defeating the Dudley Boys. Again, miscommunication from Bubba and Devon. And then after the match, Bubba looked pissed off at Devon. And I don't know if this is a way to try and, go a different route, Bubba singles. But I think Dudley's, you could get still something as a team. Get them over as heels. They're heels. They're decent enough. Why can't we have these guys run for the tag straps? Considering we're now maybe possibly having 2 tag team divisions. Because SmackDown have added, well, they're going to after SummerSlam add a second women's title. So my guessing is they're going to add a second tag belt. But what confuses me more than that itself is A, why the Dudleys aren't being used properly, but B, why on God's green earth do we need 2 tag belts? And what are they going to call them? Are they going to, if this was me, and this is a kerfuffle. If this was me, I would have Raw have the Universal Tag, the Universal Women's, the Universal US, you can just call it US, and the Universal Championship. SmackDown, the WWE Championship, the IC title, the WWE Tag Team titles, and the WWE Women's Championship. Now, they could do this, in essence, by exchanging the pairs. So they could say Sasha Banks, who's on Raw, after, say, she defeats Charlotte or at SummerSlam. And we have our newly crowned Universal Women's Champion on SmackDown. We'll say Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch goes over to Raw with the women's title. Sasha Banks goes over to SmackDown with the women's. SmackDown goes. Rephrase, you cunt. Sorry, I'm using that word an awful lot recently, and that I don't like. I'm not a fan of that word. Sasha Banks goes over with the women's championship to SmackDown. Becky Lynch comes over with the Universal Women's title for Raw. So the Raw has the Universal, SmackDown has the WWE belts. That's what I would do. But if it happens or not, that's a different ballgame. Rusev and Lana, they had an in-ring celebration. They made me want to commit suicide. They made me hate love for a few seconds. It was interrupted by Vince's boy, Roman Reigns. They broke down into a brawl. Lana falled into a cake, and then you can clearly see on the replay her smothering the cake on her hands. It looked atrocious. It looked like a joke. It looked like a fucking piece of shit, like this segment was. They are going to have a championship match, not because Roman Reigns beat someone. They're going to have a championship match because Reigns pushed Rusev into his wife, and Roman Reigns gets a championship match because of it. Not because Reigns won a number one contendership. Roman Reigns has lost near enough every single one of his matches, apart from a four-way on the first Raw of this new era. He lost then on that same night. He has lost the championship match at Money in the Bank. He lost a championship match at Battleground. He lost against Finn Balor on Raw 2 weeks ago, and he gets a US championship match because. Bullshit. That's a joke. That's fucking disgusting. He's getting a title match because he came out. Come on, let's do number one contenders series. Best of 7 series for qualification. Tournaments. Beat the clocks. Battle royals. You could do so fucking much. Instead, they just say, oh, let's have Reigns push Rusev into Lana and put her in a cake. That'll get Rusev mad, and then they can have a championship match. Like, oh, fuck off. Fucking joke. Banks defeated Dana Brooke. Like, how Dana Brooke is even employed is actually beyond me. There was a stipulation. If Dana Brooke won, it would be a 2-on-1 handicap match. But if Sasha won, it would just be a 1-on-1 match. It was a really quick match. It felt a lot longer with a double knee drop in the corner to get the win. Luke Gallows defeated Kingston. Big E is out with a groin injury. There was a really funny backstage vignette with Gallows and Anderson. They were pretending to be doctors. I thought that was highly entertaining. After the match, Gallows and Anderson tried to injure Kingston's dick as well, but Woods ran them off with a steel chair. Obviously, this is leading to the tag team match at SummerSlam between Gallows and Anderson and the New Day. Then we had Daniel Bryan and Mick Foley come out. They bickered about cheesecake. That's if you build a sports entertainer from the ground, you get Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar. About their shows, Rusev came out to basically suck Mick Foley's cock. Cesaro interrupted him, saying he deserves a championship opportunity. No. Not only does he deserve, he won a match last week where the stipulation was whoever wins gets a championship match. Foley makes US championship match between Rusev and Cesaro as the main event. The winner faces Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. Because, see, Cesaro earned his spot. What did Roman Reigns do? He lost and gets this spot. It drives me mad. Main event, not too shabby. Rusev Cesaro. Tell me that 3 weeks ago, Rusev Cesaro in the main event. I'm like, for a championship match? Like, yeah, not too bad. By now, I was ready to turn this off. I don't know if any of you else had this issue, but by this point, I did really want to turn this off. I didn't want to continue to watch. I was bored. I was quite frankly bored to tears. It was shit. The match was okay. Rusev won, and then Reigns comes out to look strong. That's it for Raw. There's really nothing happened. I would break down things to talk about, but nothing happened. It was a joke. Unbelievable. On to some better news. Okay, Ring of Honor announced their first batch of wrestlers. They'll be coming to the UK for the Reach for the Sky tour that takes place from November the 18th to November the 20th. If you live in England right now and you don't know about this, the locations are Liverpool, Leicester, and London. I will be going to the London show, and in 2 days, I'm going to a Revolution Pro Wrestling show with Ospreay versus Vader, Uprising 2016. I'm going to be previewing that on Thursday night. Sorry, that's 3 nights away. It feels like a Wednesday for me for some really fucked up reason. But in the event, they announced their first lot of talent that I'll be going to see. And hopefully many of you in the internet inventory who live in England will also go out of your way and see. Ring of Honor World Champion Jay Lethal, IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks. Obviously, if they retain in a few days, they're defending against the Machine Guns in Japan. IWGP World Tag Team Champions, the Briscoes, Jay and Mark, and Dalton Castle announced for these shows. Definitely going to be going to them. And I'm really pumped for that. I've never seen Ring of Honor Wrestling live. I know that in the past it's up in Preston. But Preston, for me, this may shock you, but I'd actually have to catch about 3 different company trains. And I'd actually be looking at around about £200, £300 alone just to go watch a wrestling show. By the time you pay your tickets, by the time you buy your food, by the time you buy your drinks, you're going to be out of pocket by £300-400. I mean, Rev Pro tickets I got for £22. I'm going with my buddy. It's going to be a great time. We're going to get trained. We're going to have a few alcoholic beverages, and it's going to be an absolutely great time. I'm looking forward to it. I might also take video footage of Vader and Will Ospreay. Obviously, I'll obviously ask and confirm with Koco and maybe put on the channel. SummerSlam updated cards. Oh dear the Lord. Oh dear do. Oh my God, this is a fucking huge lineup. My fucking God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 matches on this show. And I'm gonna be honest, actually looking at this on paper, this could be good. We'll run it down from the bottom to the top. So we have Miz defending Ice Tug against Apollo Crews. The match that I don't give a fuck about is Jericho and Owens versus Enzo Amore and Big Cass. Still could be okay. That's my piss break. Tag title match, The New Day defending against the Club. Women's title match, Sasha Banks versus Charlotte with Dana Brooke banned from ringside. Rusev Roman Reigns for the US strap. AJ John Cena. Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor for the new Universal title. Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler for the WWE Championship, and Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton. And if you actually look at that on paper, I think that's a really good show. I mean, Lesnar Orton could be good. Ambrose Ziggler will be good. Seth Rollins Balor will be good. Cena AJ will be good. Rusev Reigns could be good. Banks and Charlotte will be good. I mean, that's a pretty damn good card. And if you compare that to Battleground, or even compare that to WrestleMania, I think this is decent. And everyone's saying that they're upset, but I'm actually one minus this Raw, because this Raw to me felt flat and dead and dull and boring because of the Olympics. And oh God, I don't know if any of you have been watching the Olympics, but I like to watch the Olympics in the background if I'm doing anything. It's always on the TV. I've watched 3 incidents already. I've watched a woman fall off a bike and become unconscious. I watched a guy doing gymnastics land on his leg and twist it out of its socket. And also I've seen a woman fucking land on her neck. Like, dude, let's just safeten this up, yeah? Come on. Unbelievable. But I enjoy watching the swimming, the gymnastics. I love canoeing, the tennis. Dude, this is the funniest thing. When you finish this show, go on BBC Sport. If you live in England, obviously, I don't know where you get your coverage from in everywhere else around the world. Type in women's rugby and watch the Brazil versus Colombia game. As an Englishman, I obviously watch rugby every now and then. It's kind of like an English thing to do. And obviously, these men are big, muscular men. These women playing rugby is quite amusing. So I'd get out of your way to watch that. Someone's at the door. Nah, I do apologise, ladies and gentlemen. Someone at the fucking door. Might be it's the postman. I'll be back. Oh, have you heard that? These bastards. Unbelievable. I'm in the middle of filming a live video podcast, and I hear a knock on the door. I could pause if I wasn't recording live. Oh, had to run to the door there. Sorry about that. I hope you got to admire and stare at this magnificent painting. In the meantime, where was I? Oh, for fuck's sake. Ah, you son of a bitch. This is where I was. I was going to announce several matches for upcoming Evolve shows. That's exactly where I was, and that's exactly where I'll be rejoining. So we have the Evolve 68, 69, 67, and 66. So Evolve 66, August 9th in Maryland. Interesting. You have Marty Skrull. He is no longer on this show. That's sad. Tracy Williams and Fred Yehai versus Jigsaw and Peter Casa. Could be interesting. Dustin versus Ethan Page. Dustin, by the way, is Chuck Taylor. He's one half of the Evolve Tag Team Champions. A WWE Cruiserweight Classic Showcase match. TJ Perkins versus Cedric Alexander. WWE Cruiserweight Showcase match. Drew Gulak versus Tony Nese. I would be honest, I would prefer Alexander versus Nese and Perkins Gulak, but then I think that might fuck up the face versus face and heel versus heel dynamic, which I'm not a fan of. Cody Rhodes versus Zack Sabre Jr. This is instead of Cody Rhodes versus Johnny Gargano. It was meant to be Gargano Rhodes 66 Evolve. Instead, it's going to be Sabre Jr. and Cody Rhodes. And then Timothy Thatcher versus Matt Riddle for the Evolve title in a no holds barred match. Then Evolve 67, we have a new match added, which is Tony Nese versus Peter Kata. I think it'll be interesting. Tommy fucking N versus Matt Riddle. WWE Cruiserweight Classic Showcase. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Cedric Alexander. I think that could be fucking insane. EC3, Drew Galloway and Dustin, that being Chuck Taylor versus TJ Perkins, Tracy Williams and Fred Yehi in a 6-man tag match. Cody Rhodes versus Chris. Wow, what a match that could be. And this is taking place, by the way, August 20th in Brooklyn. That's before NXT TakeOver. And then the Evolve title on the line, if he's still the champion, is Thatcher versus Drew Gulak. That is the style of Evolve that's made them famous and will be awesome. Evolve 68 and 69. 69 announced is Cody Rhodes versus Johnny Gargano. And Matt Riddle versus TJ Perkins, which could be a potential Evolve title match if Matt Riddle wins at Evolve 66, obviously that being the Evolve title. You have Drew Gulak versus Drew Galloway on Evolve 68, and Dustin being Chuck Taylor versus Hot Sauce Tracy Williams on Evolve 68. Also, so great looking lineup for the next 4 Evolve shows. I'll be definitely checking out 66 and 67. I might potentially book off, so I can just really sit back, relax, and just enjoy a plethora of professional wrestling being the Evolve, especially that Saturday. Saturday, I'm going to be watching for sure that Evolve 67 show and the NXT TakeOver show and SummerSlam, and I'm not sure, but I think the G1 finishes then, and then the Super J Cup. What a time to be a wrestling fan right now. So check out all your independent scenes. Bound for Glory. Speaking of wrestling, Bound for Glory. TNA has officially set their date, and it will be Sunday, October the 2nd. They announced that yesterday. The pay-per-view is headlined by TNA World Heavyweight Champion Bobby Lashley versus the winner of the Bound for Glory playoffs, being EC3. Also implied is Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy, and Gail Kim being inducted into the TNA. I'm looking at the picture and the promotional picture of the Bound for Glory poster. It's the same Bound for Glory logo they've used since 2008. Also, it's got Lashley, EC3 in the lights, Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy staring at each other with Gail Kim. Interesting. Very, very interesting as TNA goes on pay-per-view. Let's see where it's taking place. Oh, good God almighty. This is difficult with TNA's website. This, ladies and gentlemen, I'm guessing it's going to take place in the Impact Zone. There you are. That was difficult. Unbelievable. Jesus H. Christ and a popsicle stick. On to some good news. WWE has officially acknowledged the departure of one Mr. Ryback from the company. WWE.com writ, effective today, as of August the 8th, 2016, WWE has parted ways with Ryback and he is no longer under contract. WWE wishes Ryback the best in all of his future endeavors. Ryback, catch your ass down the line. Remember, I'm never paying to see you wrestle in your life. So if you dare come to Rev Pro, please, because I enjoy going to them. Don't come to Progress. Do you know where you should go? TNA. You're a sports entertainer. But you know what? If you told me a few years ago Ryback would get released, maybe 1 year ago, I'd say, you know what? That's it. He would do what Cameron's doing or Alex Riley. Nothing. He would go unemployed. He'd get a job, or he would beg to stay with WWE. That surprised me. He stayed, and he's dedicated to professional wrestling, saying he's going on a full-time wrestling schedule. He shows commitment, and I actually respect that. You know, I thought Ryback's one of these guys who, once they get fired from WWE, that's it. Like Cena said this on Raw, I think it was SmackDown, sorry, I think it was last week, saying if it wasn't for WWE, he wouldn't be doing professional wrestling at all. So I don't know if Ryback is just saying this, but I actually admire his passion for wrestling to continue to do it on a full-time schedule. I really do respect that. We're also going to give you now the updated standings, because sometimes this G1, everything's happening in the world of wrestling. Sometimes you just got to take a step back and just look at the standings, where we are. So we have 4 people now joint for first place for Block A. And by the way, just to let you know, guys, the next actually date for a G1 tournament is August the 10th. That's the next night of the G1, and that'll be for the B block, which we'll talk about in a minute. So the standings are for Block A: IWGP champ Okada on 10 points, Pro Wrestling Noah's Marufuji on 10 points, Tanahashi's on 10 points, Hiroki Goto's on 10 points, and Fat Fuck Fale is also on 10 points. Ishii on a low 6. But including that is a win over IWGP World Champion Okada, which in essence means we're guaranteed a Okada-Ishii rematch for the IWGP World Championship, which could be fucking awesome. But me personally, I think 2 things could happen. Tanahashi will win this block, Okada will win this block, or Marufuji will. That'll be the shock if Marufuji wins. I'm expecting Tanahashi or Okada to win this block. Personally, I want a Tanahashi Naito final. Naito goes over. Naito versus Okada for the IWGP Championship at Wrestle Kingdom 10. I don't want an Okada Naito G1 final, because that means if Naito wins, he wins, and then we saw them at Dominion. We saw them at when I think it was Power Struggle where Okada won it back. That means you're going to see him in the G1 final and also at Wrestle Kingdom 10. You don't want to give that match out too much to the point where it no longer becomes special. That's one thing that does worry me about this. But if they do this smartly, have Tanahashi Naito final, don't make Okada look like a job in the process, I think you'll be right. Block B is a bit different. Naito in the lead on his own with 10 points, but there is 4 people on 8 points, that being IWGP IC champ and the Elite World Champion, that's from Mexico, Michael Elgin on 8 points, Shibata, the Never Openweight Champion, on 8 points, Omega on 8 points, and Nakajima on 8 points. I think Naito's got that in the bag. Evil, though, is out. Honma is out on 4 points, same as Tenzon. And this piss, I on the first night and the second night of the G1, when I did the reviews for them, I said that Tenzon had match of the night, and that if they continue this story of Tenzon being that veteran who wants one last run with Kojima on his side, I think that could have been a special run. I really think, and I think could have been one of the biggest talking points in the tournament. Like every year you have a story. Like last year and the year before, it was Honma. Can he get that first win? Now, obviously, with Honma getting the win last year on one of the final nights, it kind of loses its value. But no, that's going to do it for today. And I get some live comments if we have any live comments to see if we do or not. Obviously, Koco's obviously not just, but a few hours ago finished his Monday Night Raw review. So you haven't already, go see it. Also, if you haven't already, please check out Dave Koco's book, where 1 like, 0 dislikes, but we have no live comments because of the time. It's 2:40 p.m. UK time, but in America now, it's probably around about 8 a.m. In Japan, it's probably 1 a.m. It's absolutely crazy time, but I just needed to get a daily LK out there because I just feel like I had to produce some content, and I wanted to do some content. So thank you very much for watching us, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you check out KocoSports.net. That's KOCOSports.net. It's where the world goes to kick out show for combat sports. Above all, where it's okay to be a passionate fan. I will be back tonight with a SmackDown review. I've got my Red Bulls to make sure I stay up. I bought 4. Ridiculous. I might be joined by Wrestling Ranted also on Thursday. Me and Wrestling Ranting. If you don't know Wrestling Ranting, please search that as RASSINLIN Ranting on the YouTube. He's a historian of professional wrestling, especially in the NWA, WCW era. And we're going to be checking out a NWA World Championship Wrestling show. More details on that SmackDown Live review. So please make sure you stick around on this channel. Like, comment, subscribe. Buy Dave Koco's book so he can be on the show a lot more. Stay safe. Stay well. This is your host, LK, and I'll be catching your asses down the